All right, Dave, well, I'm going to get rolling if you're ready.
Might as well. Let's get started. So welcome to the October 2016 New Mexico Drought Monitoring Work Group call. This is Dave Dubois in Las Cruces, and we got Royce down in, I guess, up in Albuquerque from where I am. So let's first, before we do that, let's go around the call and announce who's on the call.
Ollie Reed, Albuquerque Journal.
Chuck Lawler, New Mexico Office of the State Engineer, Water Use Conservation Bureau, on behalf of Molly Magnuson.
This is Greg Story from West Gulf RFC in Fort Worth, Texas.
Chelsea Morganti, Mitigation Program, DHSEM.
And then lastly, Royce Montano. I'm the Senior Service Hydrologist here at National Weather Service Albuquerque. So if you're ready, Dave, I'm going to get it trucking.
Go for it.
All right. Good morning, everyone. And since our first meeting, happy new water year. Kind of a water geek joke there. So going to go straight into it here. So this is from AHAPS, Advanced Hydrologic Prediction Service. This is the September finalized precipitation data from our river forecast centers, and we, not a huge difference from our last call. Just kind of finalized out. Southwest did pretty well. Again, some of that Hurricane Newton southeast had some of that deep southerly flow that helped things out. Again, just to show you there on the percent of normal, that's what you're seeing there. A little bit's a change between the different RFCs there and the different methods of computing the rainfall. But so September wound up, we'll talk about the numbers, kind of evened out there. So this is the last 30 days through the 24th. We've been kind of in and out of the office last 2 days. So again, you can see kind of end of the month, and some early October had a decent amount of rain over the southwest, and you can see that particularly in the percentage of normal. But the eastern half of the state, east of the Central Mountains, has been bone dry. It's definitely been showing in the precipitation data. And if you look carefully in the southeast corners there, you see kind of a triangle-shaped artifact. That's radar. That's not a artifact of the precipitation, but that little triangle shape, and you see it in both as a radar artifact due to terrain. So looking at gauge-based data, this is through yesterday, last 30 days from Western Regional Climate Center. Again, you can see you see some bulldogs from some gauges, but the pattern's there. That the western third, half of the state's done pretty well, but most of the rest of the state has just been bone dry. We're looking at departure from normals of 50% or less east of the Central Mountains and along the northern tier. And looking at our 30 and 60-day 90 departure from normals, again, this has been no real surprise. We've had kind of the precipitation pattern shifting. We looked at a lot of the drought a couple months ago, and now we're kind of seeing that drying trend come back. Looking at the 30, 90, and the 2015-2016 Water Year Standardized Precipitation Index. The 30 days really capturing, this was as of through yesterday morning's finalized data or preliminary data. Again, the southwest, western third, western half of the state, depending on how you want to break that up, it's done pretty well, a little bit above normal. But east of the Central Mountains, northern tier, still just dry. But you can see over the 30 and the 60 and 90 day, you can see that precipitation pattern shifting, where we had some pretty abundant rain back in August and September down on the southern tier, particularly the southeast. That's starting to dry out. For the water year, again, you're seeing a lot of the December-January event, big snow event in there, and you're seeing some of those recent heavy rainfall down there in the southeast. So that's how we came out for the 12-month SPI. Above normal for the eastern half of the state, normal to below, a little bit below normal for the western. So this is from PRISM, our friends up at Oregon State University. This is their preliminary data for September 2016. Again, same pattern, where you can see the wet and dry. No real surprise there. We've kind of beat this to death. September wound up to be right at about a normal month when you average it all together for the state. right kind of in the middle. I think 122 years of data in that set, and we're at about 63rd, so right in the middle. This is the October data through yesterday morning from PRISM, and it's kind of gloomy. You can see particularly the departure from normals really show up, that you've got the northeast corner of the state, eastern plains looking almost no precipitation, well below normal. Just a few pockets there of individual gauges that have been tapped, and PRISM does some orographic adjustment too, so you're seeing some of that. But October's been extraordinarily dry to date. So going through some of the other graphs, typically again, there's September's 2016, for period of record there, and right about normal. I mean, that's as normal as you're going to get, 98% of normal. For the calendar year to date, about 35th driest. This was through end of September. Statewide precipitation about 10 inches. Again, I'm not a fan of statewide numbers, but there it is. And for the water year, came out about 106% of normal, a little bit above normal there. Again, you had some larger events there around Christmas time, and then a few monsoonal events kind of average things out. So, again, thank Brian Geyer for updating this. This is the NASA Sport soil moisture. This is the deep soil moisture. So this is 0 through the column, 0 to 200 centimeters, down 2 meters. 1 month changes. Again, the end of September there, about the date of our last call. Very moist in the southeast from all those rains. You can see the lingering effects of Newton down in Canton County and the Gila Bend, the Gila region. Then moving October 25th, you can see it's drying out pretty well. We've had some lingering moisture from some showers and thunderstorms earlier in the month, but this trend is drying out through the column there. And the 0 to 10 centimeter topsoil, same sort of trend. You can see right there in the southeast, some pretty good moisture from the rainfall, but that is starting to dry out pretty much statewide. You got some areas that are doing okay, but topsoil moisture is definitely on a downward trend. So regional drought status. This is fresh off the press this morning. The 25th, and for those who don't know it, that's the data cutoff, but it was released this morning. So this is for the entire western United States. Again, California is the issue. They're holding total severe drought about 25%. And that's that category D1 through D4. There has been improvement in the Northwest. If you haven't noticed, they've been getting a lot of rain up there, and that's been definitely very helpful to Northern California, Washington, Oregon. Not so much here. So our drought as of this morning, there was no change from last week. Still got a little bit D1 over east central part of the state and D1 over the west central. Most of the state is kind of near normal or right in D0, which is abnormally dry. But that's something we need to discuss today. 3-month change, again, some rainfalls kind of shifted the pattern around, but percentage-wise, I'd have to look. I think we've shrunk that percentage. We've gone up and down, but still, it's just shifting the lines. So let's get into the extended outlook. There's been some changes since our last call, but this is most of these slides are from Climate Prediction Center. This as of their Monday afternoon release. So, looking at our temperatures in the sea surface temperature anomalies in the central Pacific, equatorial Pacific, things have kind of dipped down a little bit. You can see right there along the equator running between 180 and about 150 west. Those anomalies are starting to dip down. But they are showing for the average, well below average across central and east Pacific, near average in the eastern Pacific. So again, we're talking about this area right here. So how's that going to play in the forecast? Again, you can see that trend coming down, colder, colder, colder. This is where we were about last call. Things started to warm up a little bit, but you can see all along the date line, the equator, those temperatures are dropping. Niño regions, we break those areas up, and one thing that's really dipped down in the last few month or so is the Niño 4 and then the Niño 3.4. So Niño 4 which is, you can see on the map that farther west crossing the date line, really took a nosedive going into October. It became very cold. That's propagated down to 3.4, and everything's kind of come down right there. So that has changed our forecast. When we last spoke, they had dropped the La Niña watch, and they had called for what we call neutral conditions, or nicknamed La Nada. That has changed because of what's happening in October. So this is from CPC and IRI. So bottom line, La Niña is favored to develop about 70% chance during the northern hemisphere fall, and then slightly favored to persist, about 55% chance through the whole winter. So in short, it looks like we're going to go into a La Niña, a weak one, but that La Niña may not persist. So looking at these probabilities here from IRI, this kind of shows it right here. Neutral La Niña coming in for the fall into early winter, but those probabilities are starting to equal out. So it may be a very short-lived La Niña, and you can see the trends there. So here's another model run showing the plume of the predictions. Most of the model averages, the average of the models, is showing that trend into a La Niña, then warming back up right there. So it goes back to the confidence that we'll probably see a La Niña early on, but it may not persist. This is from the Climate Forecast System, which is the National Weather Service's large climate model. Again, you can see the same thing right there. The ensemble mean, that dashed line is showing that, indication of a weak La Niña, and then coming back out of it, and it may or may not persist. Here's something else that came out from IRI, just kind of a probability forecast for precipitation November through January. You can see kind of the same trend that you're about to see in the official forecast of the probabilities are normal to below normal precipitation, not looking so good for above normal precipitation. So the ENSO forecast summary, CPC went ahead and reissued La Niña watch. Right now things are neutral. They are trending toward La Niña conditions. Again, La Niña is favored to develop, about 70% chance during the northern hemisphere. For fall 2016, slightly favored to persist through the entire winter. So how's that going to play our forecast? First, I want to talk about, real quick, a reminder to those folks who may not really understand La Niña's effects. So some of the things it does right here is it changes where those jet streams go and the position of this ridge right here. So essentially, it's shunting the Pacific jet, which is normally further south, further into the Pacific Northwest, British Columbia. The polar jet has a higher amplitude because of this ridge. So that gives cooler conditions along from Anchorage through central Canada into the north central United States, drier conditions along the southern tier, wet in the Ohio River Valley and the Pacific Northwest. And just as kind of a show right here, you're seeing a little bit of it. This is the jet stream off as initialized by one of our models this morning, and you can kind of see that trend right there, that you're seeing the jet stream pushed further north and pushing that moisture into the Pacific Northwest, keeping high pressure over us, keeping us dry. So CPC's forecast for November, no surprise, normal to below normal precipitation for all of New Mexico. Maybe parts of the upper Rio Grande and Colorado might be about equal chances. Temperature, again, no surprise, above normal. Even when we're having these cool downs, we're still looking at average temperatures of 5 to 10 above normal right now in the state. So we're in very warm conditions right now. So November through January, the half-month lead, so that fall transitioning into winter, again, keeping that below normal precipitation, normal to below normal, and temperatures well above normal to well above normal. So, what we're seeing in the short term is definitely the position of that ridge. So as we go into the winter outlook, December through February, this is where things got a little tricky. Talking to CPC, we had a call, the Weather Service has a call with CPC before the outlooks are released each month. Temperature-wise, again, normal to above normal for New Mexico, with a a large area of a below normal in the northern tier there, and normal to below normal precipitation. So one thing I want to mention is, in discussing with CPC on this forecast, even though they're not thinking it's going to be a long or strong La Nina, and some of the models are hinting that below normal is not going to play into it, CPC went ahead and decided to go ahead and stick with the typical La Nina impacts, because even if we don't have a full-blown La Nina, we're seeing the atmosphere coupled with those conditions already, so they're kind of going to standard there. Now, one thing that can be brought up too is just because we're in normal to above normal temperatures does not mean we're not going to have a cold blast. Certainly with that dome of cold air sitting over the central Canada and the northern Midwest, you get a deep enough trough coming through, just normal interseasonal variation, you can get some pretty good cold blast down there. But something else I want to reemphasize here too is how to read these. We've had some confusion. So when we're discussing the seasonal outlooks, we break things up into tertiles. So equal chances is 33.333% chance of it can go either way. When we start shifting these lines, we're just moving those percentages around. We take it from the above or below first before we take it from normal. So what we're saying, what CPC is saying here is probabilities for, say, Albuquerque area, 50% chance of above normal, 33% chance of normal, 18% chance of below normal. Same thing on the precipitation. So we're not saying, remember, we're always keeping that light, and there's still that possibility of normal conditions in there. But I just want to kind of remind folks on that. But again, the takeaway here is warm and dry, which is not going to bode well for our snowpack. Seasonal drought outlook kind of follows the same thing. This was released at the same time as the other outlooks. They are actually expecting drought development likely over our northeastern tier. I think we're already seeing that right now. No real forecast for the rest of the state other than persisting over there on the border with Arizona. So that is all I have, and here's that slide. So we'll go ahead and go back to you, Dave.
All right. Thanks, Royce. Any questions for Royce on the presentation? Okay. So I think preliminary thoughts on the drought monitor. I got an email just while Royce was talking from Victor, which I think he's on the call or listening, maybe not on the go-to. But I also agree with what we're thinking through is based on the last discussion about the far northeast and the east central. I've been looking at the depiction of the D1 across, and I think we may want to think about expanding that, and that's kind of what Victor is also thinking too, is a one category degradation along. Let me read just what it says. Along the north and along in the north line from Curry to eastern Bernalillo to Sandoval to San Juan County, based on the 60-day percent of normal plot. And I think, and I just pulled up some of the SPI and the SPEI maps as well, and I think that definitely. I saw the email from Texas showing some also D1 across the two counties bordering New Mexico. I don't know. I forget what the name of what counties they are, but I think seeing that a lot of clay, as well as definitely showing the need for more, at least one category degradation into D1 across clay, and I think I agree with Victor. And what are your thoughts up in Albuquerque?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I'm going to have to see an actual draw out, but certainly some expansion. I mean, going back and looking, let's see, let me get up to it. Yeah, I mean, we need to certainly be looking at it just based off of, I mean, this preliminary right there from departure from normal from Prism really shows it. I mean, the Northeast has just been bone dry, and we've been warmer than normal. I haven't had a chance to look at ET values or anything like that, but you know, we're really dry, and we probably need to just, you know, certainly some expansion, but next week keep an eye if we just don't need to go ahead and start looking at D0 for a good part of the state. Just because we're on that drying trend, I suspect in another week or two that 30-day SPI is going to be below normal for pretty much everybody. So certainly I think an expansion is definitely warranted, and we'll have to kind of keep our eyes on the ball to see if that needs to continue.
Yeah. So I think, I know definitely the shape of that D1 is kind of odd, but I think I would make it go along the quay, go all the way through quay, and thinking about Guadalupe, I mean going west. So I think I need to look a little more at the maps. I've got looking at also the sport as well. Even that whole area is into Roosevelt, into northern Lee County also, although they had some decent precip in September in a spot in the northern Lee County.
Yeah, it almost seems like we're heading back into flash drought.
Yeah.
We're not seeing as high temperatures, but we're still running temperatures 10 to 20 above normal and highs in some of these locations. I mean, I think we're rapidly heading back into a dry spell. And I think just that, like I said, that 1 month, that 10 centimeter moisture is really showing it over the east. But yeah, certainly I'd have to map it out. But looking at what Victor sent, and then the soil moisture certainly expanding it, and then if trends continue, which they probably will next week, we need to go ahead and maybe next week have this conversation offline as well about expanding it even further.
Yeah, it's not going to go in this week's map, but and I also one more thing. We had a meeting yesterday or the day before on. We had folks from National Drought Mitigation Center, and was down at the Southwest Hub, and we invited a bunch of FSA folks, and I need to engage those folks some more. But there was some discussion about the Southwest part, the D0 down there, and there was some. They were getting some feedback from the ranching community about conditions down there. So I want to follow up on that. I'm not necessarily suggesting any changes right at the moment, but there was some discussion about into some parts of Grant, which the depiction on the maps look really great, in terms of the SPI, percent of normal, SPEI, they're in the above normal wetness and even extreme wetness in a few places. But I want to listen to what the range people are saying. Is there anybody from the El Paso office on the call today? Okay, I didn't think so. I'll try to engage Dave Novelin or some other guys down there even on the Hidalgo side of the bordering into Cochise County into Arizona. I haven't heard anything about any changes this week from Arizona folks, but I'll follow up on that too. I'm just putting it on our drought radar. So do you guys think of any changes at all on the far west along northwest Catron and extreme western Cibola and McKinley? It's sort of a radar gap area. There's not a lot of input And I didn't hear anything. I don't know if anything from Susan. I think she just mentioned fires. Susan Rich. But I think maybe we can follow up on that one too.
Yeah, that's Royce. I would not be opposed to expanding at least the D0, maybe a little of that D1. I mean, like I said, I think the PRISM data is showing the trend pretty well. Even though we have that kind of radar gap, we've had this ridge, and it's not been a lot. So I think expansion's honestly probably warranted everywhere if we're going on a week-by-week basis, but I don't mind gradually moving into it. But yeah, we probably need to look at expanding over the west as well. I mean, let me find where the SPIs are here. Yeah, the SPIs aren't looking bad on the 30 days, but a lot of that precipitation was 27th, that early part of that period, and since then, the tap's been turned off. So certainly worth looking at.
Yeah, do you know what this? It looked into the 60-day, that little spot. It looks like Los Alamos County, the 60-day on that map there, where you have it up.
I'm not sure what's going on there. My guess is, since it's from the regional climate centers, that's all going to be gauge based. So there's probably some gauges up there that just reported low. I probably won't be able to get to it today, but that's what my guess is that.
Yeah.
Below normal. If I remember right, looking at some gauge data up there, we had a few sites that were well below normal. Just the thunderstorms just didn't get them.
Yeah.
Certainly back in August, I think, we had some pretty good rains up in there. So, and you can see that kind of in the 90, but it wasn't a widespread. It was a lot of popcorn type or stationary convection. So I think there were some gauges, if I remember right, that just reported near zero or well below normal.
Okay. Yeah, I tend to filter out some of those ups and downs as opposed to look at a changing over the month scale, so monthly intervals, and look at does that area slowly changing, and is there not to say that something could happen on a 30-day basis, but then it doesn't show up again on the 30-day. It popped up and then went away. So it's just more of a comment there in terms of, should we pay attention to that site, and is there a problem? Is that maybe the airport? Is that an AWAS there or something like that it's using, or is it? I know there's a lot of data in that area. I mean, you have the Valle Caldera. There's a lot of weather stations in that area, and I don't know if it's that one or which one.
I think, if I remember right, the regional climate centers are using ASOS and Co-op.
Okay.
I do not believe they're using and CRN. I don't believe they're using a lot of third-party sites.
Okay.
And this was generated by High Plains.
Okay.
So I think they're using kind of the HCN, the Historical Climate Network, for everyone else, those longer-term sites.
Yeah.
One thing I just did not get a chance to, I've been on shift a lot this last month, is I am going to start taking some of the divisional data and the various polymers and all that and start mapping that out. We'll probably include that in next month's presentation.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because I like the divisional data. I mean, going back to my own climate roots at a regional climate center, but I think the divisional data is a little more representative in some of our state and statewide data, but kind of helps even things out a little bit for just regional trends. But I'm going to include those next month.
Yeah.
Hey, David, this is Victor. I'm sorry, what site were you referring to as far as it being ASOS or AWAS?
This is the High Plains Regional Climate Center SPI plots. That Royce has it up on the go-to. I don't know if you're up to see it, but it's a 60-day SPI map showing, and it was just a blip in the. It was a drastically below. Was it -1 or -2 maybe bullseye? So I've just, it's one of those things. I like to look at data and find out there's problems with a site, and we just need to alert the people, either the operators or the climate centers.
Like I said, I think we had, because I had the Albuquerque or Santa Fe newspaper called about something, and I looked at a few sites up there, and we had a few that were just well below normal in that time frame. So I think that's what that is.
Okay. Yeah.
It looks like that's centered right over Los Alamos.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Right.
Either a site stopped reporting and they're carrying a 0 instead of should be missing, or that'd be my guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we had. I'm trying to remember which one of our longer term sites up there. I was surprised on how dry it had been for the month, and it reported daily. It just wasn't. They just didn't get the rain. So, it could be. Usually, that's why I try to ignore the bullseyes and the gauge based analysis, because it's usually one site got hit or didn't get hit at all.
Yeah, we also need to keep in mind that the central area. I know it looks okay, but just looking at the maps, just from the 90, the 60, and the 30 day is not too bad, but I think it's more just a comment, just a surveillance along the middle Rio Grande, but. And I think there may be a few crops still out, but not a lot. That's what I've been trying to get is knowing what crops are still out there, or what is the sensitive in terms of. I know most things have already been harvested, but there are a few things still out. I think all of the alfalfa, the last cutting may be underway, but. So if anybody on the call has some insight into what crops are still out for different areas, please send that along. I know the NAS has a map that they just sent out, but it's more of a statewide. We really need to get regional areas, especially on the east to northeast, to know what's going on. But that's all I had in terms of the comments for the drought monitor. Alrighty. So I think let's move on to look at our water storage, and I think we'll move on to U.S. Bureau of Reclamation with Raymond Abeta.
Yes, morning, Dave. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Good. Yeah, I'll start on the Rio Grande. Potoro is 16,848. Heron, 89,414. Novato, 45,410. Abiquiu, 122,698. Cochiti, 44,573. Alphen Butte, 127,904. Caballo, 15,971. And on the Pecos, on Santa Rosa, storage 56,141 acre feet. Sumner is down to 17,866. And Brantley is 31,251. So on the Rio Grande and the Pecos, this is our last week. Everything will be shutting off on Monday the 31st. The only thing that will be going will be for the Pueblos on the Rio Grande. They'll be diverting just a minimal amount to the 15th of November. But otherwise, all other diversions in irrigation will be done. Like you said, Dave, or we're mentioning, the last cutting is on the way here in the middle Rio Grande of alfalfa. Same on the Pecos, they're wrapping things up there, getting the last cutting in and just shutting things down. There's not a whole lot of heavy watering going on pretty much anywhere. On the Rio Grande, they're not releasing from storage and haven't been for the last few weeks. It's just mainly what the river's providing and making do with that. On the Pecos, on the same thing, FSID taking their allotment of 82 CFS this week, but there's just not a lot of takers, so it's going downstream. They're still watering below Brandley some, but otherwise just wrapping it all up. The river is continuous on the Pecos, so we're real happy with that. There hasn't been, like I said, a lot of help from the rains this year, but we have managed to keep it continuous on the Pecos. We're still operating for the minnow in Mill Rio Grande, trying to keep the Albuquerque gauge above 100 CFS, and but like I said, this is the last week, so after that we'll be all done for the season, another season under our belt. So that's all I have, unless anyone has questions.
Hey, Raymond, Ollie Reed at the Journal. What do you have for Elvado?
Yeah, Elvado is 45,410.
45,410. Okay, and
Yes,
Caballo, I didn't catch that one either.
Yeah, Caballo, let's see, 15,971.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, that's it. Thank you.
All right, any more questions for Raymond? Okay. All righty.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Yep, thank you. Thanks again. Let's move on to, let's see. Didn't see anything from Chris. I think he's on the cell phone. He may have gotten on that way.
I'm here.
Oh, you on? Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Chris. Anything to report? I know things are just getting started, but in terms of the snow, but not much going on. Is there any snow reports so far up in north?
Yeah, there's been some, flurries. It's on the north aspects, but it's been so warm during the day that it's not sticking around. And based on everything you just showed, and then what I'm seeing, I don't think we're going to see anything right away.
Okay.
I'll have slides once we start getting some measurable snowfall and precip for the water year, which started in October. We do have a new site. We just put up a new snow-tell site out on the northern rim of the Valles Caldera, which is now available online. You can take a look at it. That'll offer information for water going into the Jemez, San Antonio Creek, and ultimately the Rio Grande. So we've got another point of data out there, which is good in a location we didn't have before. So, but outside of that, the site's called Garita Peak, and it's on the Sotel webpage if you want to take a look at it. It's up and started measuring since the new water year in October 1st.
Great.
Yeah, but outside of that, unless anybody has any questions, I don't have anything. I'm just getting ready for winter whenever it gets here.
Right. It's just a standard snow-tell. Is there? Did you guys put in any moisture, soil moisture, at this one, or just...
We did. We put in a full stack of soil moisture temperature sensors.
Great.
Yeah, it's got the snow pillow and then all the other standard sensors that come along with the site.
Wonderful. Great. Look forward to seeing that this winter.
Yeah, it's up at 10,160 feet, so it should get some pretty measurable snow up there.
That's wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Where is it again? Where is it again? What basin?
It's the Rio Grande, or the Jemez is like the sub-basin. It's pretty much right in the middle of the northern rim of the caldera. And it's called Garita Peak. Or Garita. It's supposed to be called Garita Peak. They originally named it Garita Hill, but it wasn't technically accurate. So, but yeah, Garita is right in the middle there. And You take a forest road up from Coyote up there. It's about 20 miles back.
Okay. Well, thanks. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, no problem. Unless anybody has any questions, that's all I've got.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right. So, moving on next on the agenda, did we have? I didn't hear Anne Marie on the call. Is she? Are you on, Anne Marie? Didn't think so. Okay. Well, I'll move on to Chuck. Are you reporting for the Office of the State Engineer?
Yeah, and I know the agenda says Molly Magnuson and Juliet Valdez, so everybody should realize I'm third string here. So, but I can go through it. This is our standard report. If you want to show the next slide. It's the usual information. Our dates are used a little different from Raymond's. It's the standard legend for the reservoir storage graphs. We can go to the next one. So here's Navajo. Navajo's holding up pretty well relative to average. Next slide. Next slide. Ute is also holding up relative to average over in the eastern part of the state. Next slide. Santa Rosa is down a lot from last year, but still doing a little better than average. And Sumner's close to average. I think you're gonna end up seeing, as always, where the problem is in the state. Brantley is well over average. And next, now we start to see the Rio Grande, which is the different picture. And Heron continues to be low relative to average. Elvado also continues to be low relative to average. Abiquiu is not as bad as the others there. Next. Elephant Butte continues to be very low, as does Caballo in the next slide. And so we have the usual summary of numbers. Ours are pretty close to Raymond's, a little different for the usual reasons. And that pretty much sums up our report for this meeting.
Great, thank you, Chuck. And sorry, we didn't.
If there's any questions, I try to answer them, but Raymond may be a better person to answer anything about the reservoirs.
Okay. So, anything else drought relevant to the situation from the state engineer's office?
Not that I've been made aware of.
Okay. Yeah, I always thought to ask any of something that's not on the usual agenda, but there's something of interest that would be good to know for the rest of the group.
Right.
And that's I open that to everyone on the call. If there's something else that, even though you report normal stuff, but there was something interesting and that would help out further discussions, that'd be great. So. It's open. Alrighty. Well, if there's no questions for Chuck, I appreciate it, Chuck, and sorry for not putting you on the name on the agenda. We can.
No, that's okay. I don't mind that at all.
Okay. I can send an updated agenda with your name on it. So.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Like you said, third string.
I would like to make sure that I do get a copy of the PowerPoint. I don't know if I'm on the regular email list or not at this point.
Hey, Chuck, it's Royce. No, you're not. If you could send me an email, I don't know if you were CC'd. Let me look what Molly sent out here. Yeah, you were CC'd on that email, so send me an email, or I've got it here. Actually, I will go ahead and add you to that list, and those slides will go out 30 minutes to an hour after the presentation.
Great. Thanks, Royce.
Thank you.
Very good. Next on the agenda, is there anybody from the New Mexico Department of Agriculture? I know I had Ryan on. I don't know if he's available. I saw him a couple days ago, so he's around, but maybe not available today. No? All right. Well, I will give him a call. See if there's anything new. I know that the 2015 NAS state report came out. That was very interesting. So Royce, do you have what the state forestry sent out about the fires? Let's see if I can find that too.
Yeah, let me look real quick. Let me get here in my email what you sent. Where is it? Let's see your first one.
Was it sent this morning?
She sent it to me the other day. I was out yesterday, so let me look here. All right, so this is what she's got here. You want me to just go ahead and read it?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and read it? You found it faster than I did.
All right, so to date, what they're reporting over at from the wildfire folks is a total of 598 fires in the state, 116,704 acres burned, state and private lands. September 20th through October 19th, which is kind of that drying trend, they had 8 fires, a total of 404 acres on state and private lands, and there's the list of counties there. Now, I will admit, I wish she'd been able to make the call. She was unable to find out if those 8 fires were actual wildfires or those were some of those prescribed burns. I'm assuming that's wildfire through those areas, because we did issue some red flag warnings during that time. But that's what they've sent along there. I certainly would like to hear some more input from the ag and forestry folks on actual status of some of the health of the forest and all that regarding the drought and those other things. But certainly that's something to consider in there.
Okay, thanks for reading it. Yeah, I think that's one of the things, and I'll help out, but if anybody else wants to has a key person that they think would be helpful in providing input, let me know, and we'll do an offline call, and we can talk about it. But just send me or even CC both me and Royce on that, and we can visit with them later. I do want to talk more to the FSA folks, and if we can get some folks, maybe another backup for forestry or even Forest Service. That would be great. I know they're really busy, with prescribed fires and things, but there's got to be some downtime to provide some input. So great. We got to keep on the ball and adapt to people's schedules. I know it's tough to pull for at least an hour. Anything else? Any other important notes that you guys have? I'll open it up to the group. Do you want to discuss, or anything from the field that you heard? So we had I'm just following up. I don't mean to hog the conversation, but we had the National Drought Mitigation meeting the other day down here, and I think it was mainly directed toward the rangeland folks, and I think that one of the outcomes of the meeting was the need for a similar meeting for the irrigated agriculture folks, and especially along the irrigation districts, both the Rio Grande, Pecos, and I think they agreed to actually do that. The USDA Climate Hub down here in Las Cruces. So I didn't do a good job in announcing that. It was kind of I didn't actually get it in involved until a few days before. But I'll announce this one a little more, and then folks, you can invite folks who you think would be, and it's basically for the people who use the climate information. So if you think of producers and folks who would like to listen in on, basically come from the horse's mouth, basically. Folks from, I think we were trying to get somebody from CPC to come in, explain some of the drought and the seasonal forecasting products, and that would be great to give an opportunity, which is pretty rare, to have somebody, one of the guys from Silver Spring or University of Maryland, to come and answer questions. Not to say that it's all depending on their schedules, but I think and at least folks from the National Drought Mitigation Center will be there. Folks from the drought, and at least one other drought monitor. We had Chad McNutt and folks from there this week. So just keep in mind. If you see an email, say irrigated farming drought workshop, you'll know what that means. Okay, any other things? I'll shut up for a few seconds.
Yeah, Dave, if you get that set up as much heads up as possible. Our travel budgets, as you know right now, federal government's on a continuing resolution. Our travel budgets are minimal right now, so as much of a heads up as possible, particularly if you want to try to get anyone from Camp Springs down. That might be a little tough, but give them as much heads up as possible. They may have more travel funding than we have. I know mine's pretty minimal right now, so... but yeah, give us as much heads up, and we'll certainly try to show up.
Wonderful. Thanks, Royce. I appreciate that. Okay. Well, if there's no other comments or suggested input, we'll move on to the scheduling of our next meeting. And feel free to, before I go to that, if there's anything, like I mentioned in previous calls, if there's anything of interest, go ahead and forward that to myself and Royce. Royce actually has the most latest email list, and I'll try to get that from him. But if you know any other folks who would definitely be good to be on the call, also let us know. We're definitely interested in participation and promoting what we're doing here and get as much input as possible. So enough of that. So let's look at our calendars for November. It's going to be a tough one with Thanksgiving in the normal week that we usually have our call. So what do you guys think? It's always nice to have the CPC update, have the calls after that, and that's the CPC updates their seasonal forecasts on the third Thursdays of the month. So that's the 17th, and so that's a Thursday, and then the following week is Thanksgiving, which is on the 24th. So what do you guys think? Do you want to do something on the week after that, or what do you guys think? We could do it on the 29th, or we could have it right after CPC, or what do you guys think? What's your schedules like?
29th work. I'm good for the 29th for the NRCS, or any time that week.
Okay.
It's Royce. I can do the 29th, or I can do Thanksgiving week, either one. I need to go and pencil in so I don't get thrown on shift, but the 29th would work as well.
Okay. So anybody have any problems with the next meeting on November 29th? That's a Tuesday. Speak up if there's any problems. Okay. Well, I think that'll work. I know I'm giving a climate workshop, but I can definitely come out for an hour out of giving a workshop. But that's great. And actually, they actually may want to listen in on the call. We're doing a climate workshop for folks from Mexico, and that will be actually really good for them to hear what we're talking about. So as a way to promote what our process, because I think our process is always a work in progress, but I think it's a good way to share information. So okay, so November 29th, 10 a.m. Mountain Time is our next call. So we're almost right at 11 o'clock. So I think we'll cut it there. We really appreciate all your help, especially those who gave reports and came out with numbers and PowerPoints and things. And thanks again to the National Weather Service, Royce and folks there for donating their time and providing the go-to as usual. So thank you very much. We'll see you at the end of next month.
Hey Dave, before we sign off,
sure.
This is Ollie Reed at the Journal.
Yeah, hi Ollie.
Hey, I just wanted to be sure of something. You're not changing the map you put out today, but you're considering the next map will have some expansions on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't think we can get all of our input in for the cutoff. I've got a few things to do today, but I think and I need to look a little more on the maps. I don't know about you, Royce. Sounds like you've got other things today, but we could provide some input in, at least some verbal input in for the drought monitor. But my guess is they probably won't go in until next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, yeah.
So how the drought monitor system works is, so the data cutoff for data is Tuesday morning. So, so right now contributors with the map issued on Thursday morning. So things are finalized on Wednesday, and they're issued on Thursday morning. So we've got basically, Dave and I and the others have till Wednesday to give our input. Really late Tuesday, Wednesday, they finalize the map. We, those of us on the list see the final embargo draft, and then the products come out on Thursday morning. So we've got about a week. We look at data, but there's a data cutoff at, I want to say it's at 8 a.m. Tuesday, I think.
Right.
So that's why when you look at the drought map, what you're seeing here is the date, October 25th, released on the 27th. So it's an analysis. As of data ending on the 25th, here's where we see things.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's kind of a weird time period. It goes over, crosses a weekend, but there's continuous input. So I've got back and forth things, Dave. So we'll touch base the next day or so. But we'll try to get that in.
Yeah.
Before y'all really get into that data, you wouldn't be willing to estimate about how much the D1 would increase from what it is showing right as of October 25th. Would you?
Well, that's what we're going to be working on, is what the numbers. So I wouldn't want to give any numbers at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of time. I totally forgot this is Thursday. I thought this was Tuesday. Because we usually have our calls on Tuesday, so it's like, oh man. Okay, very good.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Great.
Not a problem, Ollie.
Yeah, and feel free, Ollie, if you want to. You can wait. We can't release the maps until it's officially released, but we can definitely discuss things if you want to call either Royce or myself. In terms
I've been listening pretty closely today, so I kind of understand where we're going with this. So, I mean, I know what y'all were talking about what areas of concern you have. And they're pretty much dry everywhere anyway.
Yeah.
But anyhow, my story will indicate that, but it won't pin y'all down to any kind of numbers or anything like that.
And you can look at the maps. If you're interested, I know I offered it to John Fleck and other folks. If you want to see kind of the same maps that we're seeing, and there a lot of them are updated every day. Just let me know or Royce know, and we can show you.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of those links to public, like I said, Ollie, the only thing that's embargoed is the actual drafts. Like you and I discussed, it's because it's the same thing with our climate forecast. There's actually it sounds horrible. There's actually money riding on those drought.
Right.
They're pretty heavily. So we're embargoed on those until release time. But certainly some of the data links and those sort of things, certainly are public on the CPC website.
Okay. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Goodbye.
All right. All right. Thanks. I think that's it.
If there's no one else, we'll touch base over if I get a chance today. I'll drop some lines, Dave, and send it to you. And I've got it written down to send you the email list.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, we'll see you guys. Okay.